Have you ever wondered why two people with the same intelligence, education, and opportunities can end up with completely different lives? One naturally earns respect, leads with confidence, and influences the people around them, while the other struggles to be noticed despite working just as hard. Most people assume the difference is talent, luck, or money. But what if it's something deeper? What if the biggest difference is understanding how people think, how trust is built, how reputation grows, and how disciplined choices shape the opportunities we receive? That's the idea behind the 48 Laws of Power. Over this series, we've explored each law individually. Today, we're bringing everything together into one complete journey. This isn't about memorizing rules or trying to outsmart others. It's about understanding patterns in human behavior, developing emotional intelligence, communicating with intention, and becoming more thoughtful in the way you make decisions. Some of these ideas may challenge your assumptions. Others may confirm things you've noticed throughout your own life. My invitation is simple. Keep an open mind, think critically, and ask yourself how each principle applies or doesn't apply to your own experiences. By the end of this video, you won't just know all 48 laws. You'll see how they connect into a broader picture of leadership, self-control, influence, and personal growth. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, which law from the series stayed with you the longest, and why? Your answer may help someone else discover a lesson they hadn't considered. Here's something many people misunderstand about the title 48 Laws of Power. Some expect a list of shortcuts to success or techniques for controlling people. But if you've followed this series, you've probably realized that the most valuable lessons aren't about controlling others at all. They're about controlling yourself, your emotions, your reactions. Throughout history, leaders, diplomats, entrepreneurs, military commanders, and philosophers have all faced the same challenge: how to navigate complex relationships while staying focused on their goals. The laws in this series describe recurring patterns that have appeared across centuries. Whether you agree with every law or not, understanding these patterns can help you recognize situations more clearly and respond with greater awareness. As we move through all 48 laws today, don't think of them as separate ideas. Think of them as pieces of a puzzle. Some emphasize patience, others highlight observation, discipline, preparation, or reputation. Together, they form a framework for understanding influence and human behavior. Here's a question to keep in mind as you watch. If you could only keep one of these 48 lessons for the rest of your life, which one would it be? Don't answer yet. By the end of this video, you may have a very different perspective. And that's exactly where our journey begins. Every great structure begins with a strong foundation, and the same is true for influence. The first group of laws teaches that before people trust your words, they notice your actions. Before they believe your ideas, they form an opinion about your character. Reputation isn't built in a single moment. It's built through hundreds of small decisions that reveal who you are when no one is watching. Think about the people you admire. Is it only because they're intelligent, or is it because they're consistent, disciplined, and reliable? These early laws remind us that humility often creates more opportunities than arrogance, that careful listening is usually more valuable than constant talking, and that protecting your credibility is one of the smartest long-term investments you can make. Many people lose influence not because they lack talent, but because they let pride, impulsive decisions, or careless words damage the trust they've worked so hard to earn. That's why emotional discipline matters. The ability to stay calm under pressure, to avoid reacting to every criticism, and to choose your words carefully often separates respected leaders from people who are simply loud. Ask yourself honestly, When people describe you, what qualities come to mind first? Your answer may reveal more about your future than any goal you've written down. Remember, every conversation, every promise you keep, and every decision you make is quietly shaping your reputation. Strong character earns lasting respect, while shortcuts often create only temporary success. The first laws remind us that the most powerful image you project is not created by what you claim about yourself, but by what your daily habits consistently prove. Once you've built discipline within yourself, the next lesson is learning to understand the people around you. Every person you meet has different goals, fears, motivations, and priorities. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming everyone thinks exactly as they do. In reality, successful communication begins with curiosity rather than assumptions. The most effective leaders, negotiators, and communicators spend far more time observing than judging. They pay attention to body language, tone of voice, actions, and patterns, instead of relying only on words. This doesn't mean becoming suspicious of everyone, it means becoming more aware. When you understand what motivates another person, conversations become more meaningful, teamwork becomes stronger, and unnecessary conflicts become easier to avoid. At the same time, this awareness should be balanced with integrity. Understanding psychology gives you responsibility, not permission to exploit others. That's an important distinction. Real influence comes from solving problems, creating value, and building genuine trust over time. So here's something to think about. How often do you truly listen with the intention of understanding? Unhussaderned, truly listens with the intention of understanding, instead of simply waiting for your turn to speak. That single habit can transform relationships, improve leadership, and help you make wiser decisions in every area of life. As we continue through the remaining laws, you'll notice a pattern emerging. Lasting influence isn't built through force or manipulation. It grows from patience, observation, thoughtful communication, and the discipline to act with purpose, even when emotions try to take control. One of the biggest lessons hidden across the 48 law of power is that timing often matters more than speed. Most people believe success belongs to whoever moves first, speaks first, or acts the fastest. But history tells a different story. Many of the greatest leaders, diplomats, and thinkers understood that rushing into action without enough information often creates more problems than it solves. Patience is not weakness, it is controlled strength. It gives you time to observe, think, and make decisions based on facts instead of emotions. Think about a game of chess. The strongest player doesn't move the fastest, they move with purpose. Every decision is connected to the next one. Life works much the same way. Every choice you make today shapes opportunities you'll see tomorrow. That's why these laws repeatedly emphasize preparation, observation, and planning before action. This doesn't mean waiting forever or avoiding risks. It means knowing when to act and why you're acting. Ask yourself, how many mistakes in your life happened because you reacted emotionally instead of responding thoughtfully? We've all experienced moments where a few minutes of patience could have prevented weeks of regret. The people who consistently succeed are rarely those who never make mistakes. They're the ones who learn to slow down when emotions run high and speed up when opportunity truly appears. As you continue through these laws, you'll notice a common pattern. Wisdom isn't measured by how much you know, but by your ability to choose the right action at the right moment. That quiet discipline often creates greater results than constant activity ever could. As we've explored these laws, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't against another person, it's against yourself. Before you can lead others, you must learn to lead your own mind. Before you can earn trust, you must become trustworthy. Before you can influence conversations, you must control your emotions. This is why self-mastery sits at the heart of nearly every principle we've discussed. Fear, anger, jealousy, pride, impatience, and ego can quietly undermine even the smartest person if left unchecked. On the other hand, discipline, humility, resilience, and emotional awareness create a foundation that lasts. Think about the people who inspire you most. They probably aren't admired because they never faced challenges. They're admired because they remained steady when circumstances became difficult. That's the difference between temporary success and lasting influence. External achievements may attract attention, but inner discipline earns respect. So here's a question worth reflecting on. If no one else changed, not your friends, your workplace, or your circumstances, what personal habit could you change today that would have the greatest positive impact on your future? That answer may be more valuable than any individual law in this series, because every lasting transformation begins with one decision, the decision to take responsibility for your own growth. And as we move toward the final section of this complete guide, you'll discover that the ultimate purpose of understanding these laws isn't to become more powerful over others. It's to become wiser, more disciplined, and more intentional in the way you live every day. As we move deeper into the complete framework of the 48 laws of power, one principle becomes increasingly clear. Leadership cannot be forced, it must be earned. Titles, wealth, and authority may grant someone a position, but they do not automatically earn respect. Genuine leadership is built through consistency, integrity, competence, and the ability to remain composed when others lose their direction. Throughout history, the leaders who inspired loyalty were not necessarily the loudest voices in the room. They were the ones who listened carefully, made thoughtful decisions under pressure, accepted responsibility for their mistakes, and placed long-term vision above short-term praise. Every interaction you have is an opportunity to build or weaken trust. People remember how you make them feel far longer than they remember the exact words you spoke. They notice whether your actions match your promises, whether you stay calm during conflict, and whether you treat others with fairness even when you hold the advantage. That kind of consistency creates credibility, and credibility is the foundation of influence. Ask yourself this question: if someone followed your daily habits for 1 year, would they become stronger, wiser, and more disciplined, or simply busier? The answer reveals the kind of example you're setting. These laws remind us that leadership begins long before anyone calls you a leader. It begins with mastering your routines, honoring your commitments, learning continuously, and serving a purpose greater than your ego. True influence isn't measured by the number of people who obey you. It's measured by the number of people who trust your judgment, because you've consistently earned that trust through your character and actions. After exploring every one of these 48 laws, you may have noticed something surprising. The real lesson isn't about becoming more powerful than other people. It's about becoming more aware of yourself, aware of your emotions, aware of how decisions create consequences, and aware of the patterns that shape human relationships. Knowledge alone doesn't transform a life, application does. Reading about discipline won't make you disciplined. Understanding communication won't automatically make you a better communicator. Real growth happens when these ideas become daily habits practiced with wisdom and integrity. Every challenge you face becomes an opportunity to apply patience instead of impulsiveness, preparation instead of guesswork, humility instead of arrogance, and thoughtful action instead of emotional reaction. Imagine where you'll be 1 year from now if you consistently practice even a few of these principles. Small improvements repeated every day create extraordinary results over time. That's why this series isn't meant to end when the video ends. It's meant to become a framework you return to whenever life presents difficult decisions. So before we conclude, I want to leave you with one final question. Which single law will you commit to applying in your own life starting today, and why? Share the law number in the comments. Your perspective might encourage someone else to begin their own journey of growth. Because in the end, the greatest form of power isn't controlling the world around you. It's developing the wisdom, discipline, and character to lead yourself well, regardless of the circumstances you face. By now, you've seen that the 48 laws of power are not a checklist to follow blindly. They are observations about human behavior gathered from history, leadership, politics, and strategy. The greatest mistake someone can make is believing that every law should be applied in every situation. Real wisdom lies in knowing when a principle is useful, when it isn't, and when empathy, honesty, or cooperation are the better path. Every relationship is different. Every workplace is different. Every challenge requires judgment. That's why critical thinking matters just as much as knowledge. Throughout this series, we've explored reputation, communication, patience, planning, confidence, adaptability, and emotional discipline. These aren't isolated skills, they reinforce one another. A strong reputation means little without integrity. Confidence becomes arrogance without humility. Strategy becomes ineffective without preparation. Discipline loses its value if it is not guided by purpose. The most successful people understand that long-term influence comes from creating value, solving problems, and building trust over time, not from seeking quick victories. Think about your own life. Which area needs the most attention right now? Is it communication, self-control, consistency, planning, or perhaps learning to stay calm under pressure? Whatever your answer is, begin there. Lasting improvement doesn't happen overnight. It happens through small actions repeated consistently. Remember, knowledge only becomes power when it's put into practice with wisdom. So ask yourself, what's one habit you'll change this week because of something you've learned in this series? Write it down, commit to it, and let today be the beginning of meaningful progress rather than just another video you've watched. We've now reached the final moments of this complete journey through all 48 laws of power. If you've watched from the very first episode, you've invested not only your time, but also your attention, curiosity, and willingness to think deeply about human nature. That alone sets you apart. Most people consume information quickly and move on. Few take the time to reflect, question, and apply what they've learnt. As you leave this video, remember that true strength isn't measured by how many people you can influence. It is measured by how well you can remain calm when life becomes uncertain, how consistently you act according to your values, and how willing you are to keep learning even when you believe you already know enough. Every challenge you face from this point forward is an opportunity to practice patience instead of panic, discipline instead of distraction, preparation instead of guesswork. Let it become something that inspires you to think more clearly, act more intentionally, and grow with wisdom, integrity, and purpose. If you've stayed with me until this moment, I want to sincerely thank you. Completing all 48 laws of power isn't simply about finishing a video series, it's about choosing to invest in your own growth. Every episode was an invitation to think more deeply about human nature, leadership, communication, discipline, and decision-making. Some ideas may have challenged your perspective. Others may have confirmed lessons you've already learned through experience. My hope is that this series has encouraged you to ask better questions, observe more carefully, and approach difficult situations with greater patience and wisdom. Remember, no book, no law, and no video can replace your own judgment. The most valuable skill you can develop is the ability to think critically, learn continuously, and adapt with integrity. As you move forward, don't try to remember every single law. Instead, remember the principles behind them. Protect your character, build trust through consistent actions, communicate with intention, remain emotionally disciplined, and keep learning from every success and every setback. Those habits will serve you far beyond any single strategy. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of the 48 laws had the greatest impact on the way you think? Was it Law 1, Law 17, Law 32, or perhaps the final law? Comment the law number and tell me why it stood out to you. I read every comment, and your insights may help others discover a lesson they overlooked. Conversations like these are what make this community stronger, because wisdom grows when thoughtful people share different perspectives with respect and curiosity. As we reach the end of this journey, remember one final truth. The greatest power you'll ever possess is the ability to master yourself. Circumstances will change, people will come and go. Opportunities will appear and disappear, but your character, your discipline, your integrity, and your willingness to keep learning will always remain your greatest advantage. The purpose of this series was never to encourage manipulation or control over others. It was to help you better understand human behavior, communicate more effectively, make wiser decisions, and develop the resilience needed to navigate life's challenges with confidence and responsibility. If these lessons have brought value to your life, don't let them end here. Revisit the playlist whenever you need a reminder, reflect on the principles that resonated with you most, and continue applying them thoughtfully in your own journey of personal growth. If you enjoyed this complete series, subscribe for more videos on psychology, leadership, stoicism, philosophy, human behavior, emotional intelligence, and strategic thinking. Share this video with someone who enjoys learning and self-improvement and help them begin their own journey. Thank you for watching from the first law to the last. Your time, attention, and support truly mean a great deal. Until next time, stay curious, stay disciplined, keep thinking critically, and never stop becoming the best version of yourself.